This is basically how you ensure that you're in profit from the day you sign that OTP. Hello investors, welcome back to our discussion. Now in the previous video, I spoke about 3 ways in which you can invest in real estate. Now I'm going to include a link in the description so that you can look back to the video, as it will help for today's conversation. In the previous video, I emphasized on the importance of buying right, particularly in the buy-to-let and the flip strategies. So let's have a look at the buy-to-let strategy. Now, before you proceed with any buy-to-let property, before you place an offer, anything of that sort, it is absolutely important that you know your market. You need to do your research. Now, you need to know exactly how much rent you can get in the area. You need to do what we call a comparative market analysis. This will tell you exactly how much you can collect in rental in the area, what the cap is, so to speak. You need to know what your expenses are, if there are any levies, any special levies. You need to also account for maintenance and any other thing that could arise from the side. Now, all of these expenses need to be matched up against your bond repayments if your property is, of course, financed. Now, the reason I mention that is that if you get any of those figures wrong and you find yourself collecting less rent than you had calculated in your numbers, this could be the difference between you having a cash flow positive and a cash flow negative property. I'll make an example. For a property purchased at 800,000 Rand at an interest rate at the prime interest rate, you're looking at a monthly bond repayment of 7.8. This is over a 20-year bond. Now, if you purchase the very same property for 750,000 instead, you're looking at a monthly bond repayment of 7.3. Now, that 500 Rand could be the difference between you turning a profit and you having to spend money every month on what you refer to as your investment property. Now, it is very simple for you to make the error of calculating the wrong rental amount in terms of expectations. So what I always advise is that you have a look at the area, compare them to all the rentals in the area based on the accommodation and the amenities, and then go back to your numbers and calculate exactly if you can get that figure. Because every rental market has a cap. Typically, you look to make 1% of the purchase value or the value of the property in a rental. So when you're calculating, always use that number. Perhaps calculate a little lower than that to leave room for any errors, and that should set you on your way to calculating the right numbers when you buy. So now, if you find yourself in a position where you bought higher than you should have in the property, what will happen is that you will find yourself spending money every month. And that is not what you want to do if you're buying your first investment property, or if you have 10 of them making the same mistake on them. So remember, like I said in the previous video, most important is that you make money when you buy. Now let's have a look at the flip strategy. Typically in a flip, what you look to do is you look to find a property that is slightly distressed, do a little bit of refurbishment on the property, and then sell it for a better price or the market value. Now, for you to do this successfully, you absolutely have to buy at the right price. Because what happens is that you will get a quote from your builder for refurbishments, and then every now and then, the figure will not be perfect. It won't be the exact amount of money. You could spend slightly less, you could spend slightly more. So you should always leave room for error in that regard as well. Now, if it happens that you had calculated X figure for your refurbishments, and what happens is that and this was determined by the property being placed at the market value. What could happen is that the property could take slightly longer to sell, which would in turn cost you money for every day that it spends on the market without finding a buyer. So if you manage to buy at the right price, at a discounted price, slightly below what the next person would have bought the property for, it leaves room for you to price it lower than the market trend, the market value, and you can in turn sell your property quicker than properties in the area. Now, I help homeowners sell properties in less than 30 days. One of the ways I make this happen is that I make sure that the property is priced correctly. Now, for this to be done, it has to be a purchase at the right price. So again, emphasis on the fact that if you do not purchase the property right, you will have a problem in selling it. So ensure that you purchase at a discounted value at much less than properties in the area, and have room to fix the place up, refurbish it at the right amount of money, and be able to price the property at the very least at market value. And I advise pricing it slightly below market value so that the competing properties have no chance when yours is placed first. So that wraps up our discussion on making money when you buy. And this is basically how you ensure that you're in profit from the day you sign that OTP. So let's recap on the importance of buying at the right price. In a buy-to-let strategy, the purchase price affects your monthly cash flow significantly. So please ensure that you buy at the right price there. And in a flip strategy, again, it could be the difference between you turning a profit and spending money on your investment property. So please make sure you run the numbers correctly and you do not buy any more than you should be. Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode. I really appreciate your time. Please let me know if there's anything you'd like to know in the comment section. Any questions, I'd love to answer them for you guys. If you guys have any properties you're working with right now, any flips, any buy-to-lets, I'd really love to know how that's going out for you, and perhaps we might be able to learn something from that and use it in future videos. And please hit the subscribe button, share with anybody that might find any of this information useful, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode.